Do you want to discover more joy, peace, and freedom with food, exercise, and your body? Here we bring a compassionate, holistic, and sustainable approach to fitness so you can fully enjoy the life you want and express your unique self with the world. I'm Michelle Roscoe, and I want to help you find fitness freedom. I'm so glad you're here. Hello. Do you consider yourself a perfectionist? Have you ever called yourself a perfectionist? Do you know that you have perfectionist tendencies? Maybe you even call yourself a recovering perfectionist. If that's you, then you're in the right place, and this episode is just for you. So, quick intro. These days, I've been starting the second part of my morning with a book called Right for Life by Julia Cameron. And I say second part because the first part of my morning is a little bit different. And if you'd like to hear more about my morning routine or morning routines in general, that's my jam. So message me, email me, let me know that's something of interest to you, and I could do an episode on that. So start the second part of my morning. I've been doing sipping some coffee, reading a book, doing some writing before I get into work. And this book, Right for Life, is what I've been reading little snippets of every day. I bought it in a local bookstore about a month ago after what felt like a serendipitous find. So I just listened to an audiobook by Sonia Choquette, who I really adore, about creating your dream life. And in that book, she mentioned her writing journey, how she was inspired to write a book, and how Julia Cameron helped her to write her first book. If you know the bestseller, The Artist's Way, that's Julia Cameron. She wrote that. So I found this book. I went into the writing section. I picked it up. I was like, oh, it's Julia Cameron. I just heard her name. I'm curious about what she has to say about writing. So I sat on a chair by the front window in this little bookstore, just less than a mile from my house, or about a mile from my house, and opened the book, and I read a few snippets, and I immediately knew I wanted to get it. So this morning I was reading a section on perfectionism, particularly as it relates to writing, but I'm going to make it more relevant for fitness. And one phrase caught my attention. I had to reread it several times. It was a longer sentence, but the phrase that caught my attention was, perfectionism is the enemy of freedom. Perfectionism is the enemy of freedom. And this podcast, as you know, is called Fitness Freedom. It's all about finding freedom with your body, food, and exercise, really with yourself. That freedom to do what you want, when you want, with people you want, to not feel like you're trapped or burdened, to not feel heavy with confusion, or like you have to do something in order to be okay, or you have to perform or be somewhere or do something in order to be accepted. Freedom to be you, freedom to be okay, freedom to do what you want. So how does perfectionism become the enemy of freedom with fitness? I was thinking about this. Fitness is so closely related to our bodies, right? So it's about our bodies, our mental health, and there's so much societal, familial, and personal pressure to be perfect in our bodies. So perfectionism thrives with fitness. So does shame. It's related. We have lots of shame around our bodies if we're not good enough, or if we're not eating well enough, or if we're not exercising enough. A lot of us, no matter how we look or what our journeys are, experience shame around our bodies, whether we say it out loud or it's just something that kind of hangs out in the background. And of course, different cultures have different rules about how we're supposed to look, how we're supposed to eat, what's the right way to eat, what's the right way to move. Every culture has different rules, but the underlying principle or theme or message is that when we look or eat or move a certain way, we can be good enough. And true, our food and our exercise habits affect our health, but it can become more than that. It can lead us to trying to follow these rules or trying to be perfect, can lead us to doing deeply unhealthy things for the sake of following certain standards. And we have statistics to show that this is true. So many people struggle with disordered eating, whether it's diagnosed or not. We use unsustainable methods to reach a certain goal. We still follow, cleanses or fad diets or exercise extremes to reach a certain wait by a certain amount of time, or after we've, I guess, destroyed our bodies, so to speak, with drinking or eating. We have this like clean purity mindset around food and exercise in our bodies. And that has a lot to do with American culture and Puritanism and where we come from as a culture. And of course, your culture might be different. But it also, trying to follow these standards and be perfect in them can lead to extreme over exercise, low self-esteem, mental health issues. And really, all I'm saying is basically something that is meant to be good for us, which is fitness, which is all about being kind to ourselves and taking care of ourselves, can become bad for us when we try to go against our body's natural needs and rhythms, and we try to be perfect. So perfectionism definitely is the enemy of freedom. That's why we need to move away from perfectionism in order to find freedom. So instead of just focusing on the problem today, which I've been doing up until now, here are 3 things that you can do to leave perfectionism and discover the joy and peace of freedom and fitness. Wow. You can have freedom and fitness. It can actually be something that gives you more freedom in your life. And that's what I'm on a mission to help you do, to find freedom in your life through fitness. All right, so here are 3 things. And I'm really excited to share them with you because even just writing them down made me feel joyful. So number 1, do something instead of nothing. This is one of the biggest things that I see with clients who've struggled with disordered eating or extremes in their behaviors, especially with food and of course exercise as well, is that there's this mindset of I have to do it perfectly or I can't do it at all. And the opposite message to this is do something instead of nothing. So a few things here is show up messy. You don't have to feel a certain way or be in a certain state or be perfect or look a certain way in order to just show up and do something messy. So how does that apply to your fitness? When you're doing a workout, if you have a choice between maybe going for a walk or doing nothing at all, it might not be like a hard workout. Just go for the walk. If you are short on time and you're struggling with what to eat, pick up a vegetable. Or something healthy, a healthier food option. Often in our minds we think, oh, I don't have time, so I want something easy. I'm going to go do something with fast food, or I'm going to order something. When in actuality, it takes about the same time. It takes about the same amount of effort. So shifting that mindset to, what can I do that's just a little bit imperfect? I don't have time to prepare a whole ass meal, a whole ass decadent, healthy meal. Well, what can you do? Maybe just grab something really easy. Grab a carrot, grab a handful of nuts with yours as a snack. Just whatever it means to you to show up messy and to do something that's a little bit better than nothing at all. Another thing that we struggle with is time. And we say, Michelle, I really want to work out and I want to eat healthier and I want to take care of my body better. Like I want to make time for myself, but I'm so busy. I have so many responsibilities. I have so much on my plate. And yeah, that's a real concern. So instead of thinking like I have to have 30 minutes of uninterrupted time, or I have it to go to the gym for an hour, just take small pockets of time here and there. You absolutely have 5 to 10 minutes, maybe during your lunch break, or set aside some time in the morning. You can do what is important to you, and you have to make it important. And a part of that is throwing out the perfectionism and just taking small pockets of time here and there. Another thing mentally that can help you make a big switch for this doing something instead of nothing, and this is something that I teach with my clients. And by the way, there's a difference between hearing this information and actually practicing it and having a coach or having some structure or committing to yourself and putting yourself in an environment where this is the norm. And that's why it can be so helpful to get coaching. It can be so helpful to be a part of a community, which is something that I've created and offered. But back to my point, think spectrum instead of binary. So if you think about sexuality, if you think about even mental health issues, there's so many things that we could put on a spectrum. Or like I talked about last week, privilege, it's a spectrum instead of a binary. You're not completely hetero, you're not completely homosexual, or whatever you want to call the term. There's a spectrum there. and we can play with it, and it changes throughout our lives. So think spectrum instead of binary with this. Instead of going, I can't do anything at all, or I can do it, think about what you can do in between. Or another analogy is, you have a dimmer in your bathroom or your kitchen. You, instead of that on and off switch, like I'm either not doing it or I am doing it, which leads to those extremes where we burn out and we go hard and we eat all the right foods and we exercise and like crazy, and then we burn out and then we give up and then we go up and down that roller coaster ride. Think of a dial. So when you are short on time or life is extra stressful, just dim it down a little bbit. Do something instead of nothing. Maybe all you got today is 10 minutes. Give yourself that 10 minutes to go on a walk or do a little workout. Maybe instead of thinking like, oh, I have to eat a salad or I have to eat junk food, just something in between. Get a burger with a salad. Think dial instead of on or off. So let's do something instead of nothing. Those are some tips for you. This is fun. Number 2, play. Play is like the opposite of perfectionism. Perfectionism says you must do it this way and follow these rules, and if you don't do it, then you are doomed, right? That's what our brain says. Play is the opposite of that. So how can you bring play into your fitness? First of all, laugh. A little bit, laugh. Bring some laughter when you're cooking. Maybe listen to something funny, or when you're exercising, put on something that makes you laugh or something lighthearted. Just bring some laughter into your fitness. When's the last time you brought laughter into your fitness? Maybe goof around with a friend while you're doing some exercise. Another thing that goes under play is be spontaneous. Maybe step away from a plan. If you are very rigid with your schedule, maybe try stepping away from it. Be spontaneous. Like, hey, I feel like instead of doing this workout that I planned, I feel like going out for a walk, or I feel like playing a sport instead of doing this regimented workout. Whatever it is for you, leave some room for spontaneity, especially if you struggle with perfectionism. Try something new with food. Like, play with your food a little bit, whether that's creatively in the way that it looks, maybe making a little piece of art on your plate. Or maybe it's trying a new recipe. Maybe it's trying a different ingredient. Play. It's not so serious. It's okay. Which leads me to my last point. Break a rule. You probably, if you struggle with perfectionism, especially with your health, and you have a lot of fear around doing things right or doing things wrong, break a fucking rule. Fucking break a rule. Play hooky a little bit. Just realize that you don't have to be perfect, and then check yourself. Am I okay? Am I still here? Yep. Still here. I'm okay. This was something that was huge for me. And then sometimes when I was in my recovery with my disordered eating is breaking rules. It felt so cheeky and it felt freeing. And then of course there's that other extreme where we go back between that restrictor and the rebel, which is something I talk about in my program, The Healthy Heroes. But we can go back and forth with that as well. And there's a key to taking care of that and working through that, which is, long story short, TLDR, is to befriend both sides. But play, laugh, be spontaneous, try something new with food or exercise, break a rule. And then the last one, number 3, how do you fight this perfectionism? How do you find freedom? Trust yourself. Trust yourself. Check in with how you feel and trust it. And this is really, really, really hard. And I'm not discounting how hard this is, especially when you're so used to following numbers, or you're following rules, or you're following, this is what the right thing is to do. I have to eat this way or exercise this way, or else I'm going to lose all my progress and I'm going to die early and my body's going to break and it's going to be horrible and the world's going to fall apart. That's how it does feel. So check in with how you feel. And whatever you find, trust it. Give yourself permission to trust it. So here are 2 things that I've found helpful and that could help you. Number 1, take away numbers. And it doesn't mean that you have to take away numbers forever. And this feels really hard if you're used to holding on to numbers. I'm a very numbers person. I think I'm a little bit obsessive with numbers. But sometimes it can be freeing, and you can find freedom from perfectionism by taking away numbers. And that goes for reps. That goes for distance, like if you're a runner or a walker and you're into counting your distance. That goes for calories, for food. That goes for macros. Take a break. Take a break from counting. Do a workout or go for a walk or go for a run without your little trackers. Eat a meal without worrying about how many calories are in it, or how many macros there are in it, or how healthy it is. what percentage of it is whole foods. Just those things are helpful tools and they can absolutely be good guides for us. But if you're struggling with perfectionism and you know this applies to you, I challenge you to maybe start with a meal. Start with a meal or a workout without counting the reps or counting the time. Go out and play with your food. Go out and play with exercise and don't think about numbers. And then second, with checking in with how you feel and trusting it, is rest. Give yourself rest. If you check in with how you feel and you realize, damn, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. Give yourself permission to rest, please. Please give your body permission to rest. Your body really wants it and it appreciates it so much. It's one of the most loving things you can do for your body. And sometimes we need to do nothing. I have lived in different parts of the world and I've traveled through different parts of the world, and I moved to Madison about 2 years ago, and something I noticed about American culture, and you might not be listening to this from America, but I am American and I am based in America. And maybe you recognize this in your own culture, or you can compare and contrast it with your own culture if you're listening to this. In America, there's such an emphasis on being busy and being tired. We wear it as a badge of honor. And we don't put a high priority, at least from what I can see, on rest. It's work hard, make a lot of money, be busy with your kids, be busy with your schedule, be busy with your workouts. It's like it makes us feel more important. And it's hard to let go of that and just to rest when we feel like our value is found in how hard we're working or how busy we are or how tired we are. Go against the norm a little bit. Be a rebel. Come on, join me in this rebel cause. This is something that I've been actively trying to fight against is, so what if I'm busy? So what if I'm not busy? What if I sleep in? Am I a bad person if I sleep? Am I lazy? So what if I don't have a lot on my plate? What if I make active time for nothing? Am I a bad person? Am I being wrong? These questions come up, but challenge yourself to rest. That could be one of the best things you could do for yourself. So just to recap, perfection is the enemy of freedom. How do we move towards freedom and from perfectionism? Number 1, do something instead of nothing. Number 2, play. Number 3, check in with how you feel and what you need and trust it. I'm going to finish this part with a quote from Thich Nhat Hanh, who I love as well. He said, "Letting go gives us freedom, and freedom is the only condition for happiness." Letting go gives us freedom, and freedom is the only condition for happiness. So that's the basis for all of these points that I've shared with you today, is letting go. And it's really hard. It's really hard to let go. But when you do let go, you'll find that your feet are still grounded, that you can feel peace, that you can have happiness, and freedom is the way to get there. And I want to invite you, as I finish, if you want to experience more freedom in your fitness, health, body, and life, it's great to hear this information, and I hope that it was a balm for your soul. But it's different when you're hearing it and when you're practicing it, and you're putting yourself in an environment where it's the norm and where it's encouraged, and you're getting that support, not just as a community and as a group, but you're getting it one-on-one. And that's why I invite you to join the Healthy Heroes. You not only get a variety of progressive, easy to follow workouts with a structured routine that's open for flexibility and for personal goals and needs. You get scientifically based nutrition guidance that's adjustable for your goals and your preferences and your needs, your individual challenges. You get one-on-one support from me, coaching, community support, and so much more. It will help you. The Healthy Heroes is designed to help you get effective results with your fitness and health with enjoyment and more ease than you ever thought possible. And you can join today using the link in the show notes. That's my invitation for you. If you would like more information or support, I'm so happy to help you. You can email me at michelle@mlroscoe.com. You can follow me or DM me on Instagram or Facebook at Michelle and Roscoe. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I'd love to hear what came up for you, and even share with me what you did. What's your something instead of nothing? What did you do to play? How did you feel when you checked in with yourself? Did you trust it? That's my challenge for you. I'd love to hear from you. I hope you have a beautiful day. Let's move towards freedom and away from perfectionism by letting go. I like you and I love you. Peace out.